Going to get started. All right, welcome everybody to day 5. It's Friday of week 1. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up question of the day. All right. Yeah, I think is a good question. So today's question of the day is, what is your go-to comfort food? Yeah, like what do you eat usually, like when you're trying to eat a nice like warm meal maybe, or like what's your comfort food, I guess? I'll start out. Cammy and I, my girlfriend and I, we lately, or I guess not really in the past couple weeks, but like recently we've really been eating pho a lot. Like we just really love it. It's just so good. Um, we used to go to Bolsa, which is in Harmon, um, or kind of near like Pochon Tuman, Upper Tuman area. But they're closed, and so we've been going to like Ma's and some other whatever, just try wherever. Honestly, pho from anywhere is pretty good, but there are places that are better, obviously. But yeah, so definitely pho. It's just been so good. I don't know. Yeah. Matt, you're the first on my screen. Please take it away.
A comfort food? Um, hmm, there's too many. I'd I'd say when my grandparents cook kadu. I like their kadu. Yeah.
Solid.
Um, Ron.
Yeah, for real, Matt, there is too many. But if I was to say or have a pick at it, man, I'm gonna say steak. Nothing beats like a good seared ribeye, especially like after a hard day's work, and you just sear it up, cut it down, make some finadeni. Ooh, I'll pass it on to Alana.
For me, I really love when my mom makes short ribs stafel. So good with the coconut milk. That's my favorite. And I'll choose pickle.
Hey, Kiko, you have a favorite comfort go-to comfort food?
Sorry, guys, I'm on the road. Man, to be honest, everyone enjoys chamorro food, but there's like certain Filipino dishes that just hit the spot even more. And it's not even sinigang or anything like that, but my comfort food growing up with the uh, like Filipino aunties is steak with peas. I don't know if you guys had that before. The
Solid.
hitter.
Super. Yeah, that sounds delicious. Dang. I'm getting really hungry. I haven't eaten dinner yet. All right. So, okay, let's move away from that topic because I'm not gonna eat dinner right now. Okay, so let's go through hot. I'll show you guys a quick hotkey of the day. Move on to the concept, or we'll go through the next topic for today. Okay, so today's hotkey of the day is it should be command or control, and then right or left arrow. So yesterday was option. Wait, is this alt? Lana, is it to go by word when you're moving? Is it alt for Windows? For Mac, it's option. Like I'm holding option, option right and left. This was yesterday's hotkey. I always forget, and I need to get my Windows laptop from Damon.
Sorry, my thing was glitching out. It's control to go right and left.
Okay, so that's control. So then it's command or alt then for this one then. Okay, okay. Interesting. Okay. I need to change that in my stuff. I put command or control. Command or alt. Okay. So it should be command or alt. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But basically the idea is like let's say I'm somewhere in this line. It doesn't really matter where I'm at, and I want to go all the way to the right side without having to either literally one by one click right and left or right, or even use that option to go by word. Like let's say I just want to go all the way to the end. I'm just gonna hold command and right arrow, and then that automatically brings me to the right side. Or if I want to go to the left, command and left arrow, and now I'm all the way on the left side of the screen, etc. And so I use this all the time. Like you guys will see me kind of go back and forth between going by word, like if I want to go to some specific word inside a line, or if I'm just trying to go to the end of it, I'm just going to hold command and then go to the right. And I find that really, really convenient. Is it correct that it's alt on Windows?
No, it's control.
Oh my gosh, it is control. Okay, so my notes are right. Should trust my notes. Okay. But yeah, so that is hotkey of the day, and that isn't something that's specific to VS Code. So for example, I'm gonna go into Slack right now. I'm gonna paste this hotkey in. And so if I do command left, that brings me all the way to the left side. Command right, all the way to the right side. And so you'll see me do this all the time. Yeah, so command or control plus right or left arrows. Arrow moves your cursor all the way to the end of whichever way you're kind of telling it to go. I really like that hotkey. I use it all the time. Okay, let me mark that. We got that one. All right, so we're gonna do a quick review of functions, and then from there, after that, we're actually gonna go back to uh, we're gonna do kind of like a mini project together. And then from there, I'm gonna give you guys kind of a step-by-step walk like exercise for you guys to build somewhat of like an interactive terminal application. And so what that technical term is going to be called is a command line interface, because this is the command line or the terminal. And so we want to kind of give the user like an interface or a something basically that they can interact with and kind of like somewhat of an application that they can do something with. And so we'll get to that a little bit later. Let's do a quick review of functions. Okay, so a simple function to start out with, and I'm going to create, actually, let me create a new file. Practice5.rb. All right, so a function or a method is basically some reusable block of code. And so to create a really simple function, for example, the first one that we've been doing is like def greet. I'm creating a function, I'm naming it greet, and all it does is it prints out hello class, or whatever it is we want to print out. And so now to get this function to run, we have to say greet to basically say the name of the method. And so now I go here, run the file, practice5.rb, perfect. It says hello class. And we can make it a little more dynamic by allowing it to pass in a parameter. And so for example, I'm going to allow it to take in a parameter named name. And then from there, I'm going to have it use that parameter in where it's printing out like I guess the greeting. And so now when I call the function, I need to make sure I actually pass in an argument, for example, Leon or whatever it is. Run it, we see it says hello Leon, exactly like we expect. And then the kind of the final step to this to me is instead of just having it print out hello whatever, I'm going to have it return hello name. And so then that means over here, I have to actually say P or puts. I basically have to print out what greet Leon says or what greet Leon returns. And so now if I run this, we see it says the same thing. However, once again, if I remove this and run it again, it's not printing anything out. And it's not printing anything out because technically we're not telling it to print anything out anywhere. We are getting the result here, but it's technically this function, it doesn't print hello name, it returns hello name or hello whatever that name is to wherever it was called. And so that's exactly why I have to do puts. And then from there, we can actually see the value of whatever it is this function did. Make sense with everybody? All right, cool, cool, cool. Okay, so we'll do a slightly more complex example again. Let's do, for example, yeah, we'll start with this one. We'll do two examples, and then I'm going to give you guys an exercise to try it out yourself. And then from there, we're going to kind of move on to another thing, and we'll come back to functions again. Okay, so let's say I want to write a function that takes in an array, and then it's going to, or it's actually, yeah, that takes in an array and it manipulates the the different elements within that array, for example. So let's do, yesterday we did upcase. We're gonna do downcase. Let's do downcase. Def, I'm gonna call it, I'm gonna say print. Yesterday we did print uppercase. We're gonna do print lowercase. And this is gonna take in an array, and we're gonna call that array words. That's gonna be the parameter we're gonna call it. And then from there, I'm gonna do my end. And then in here, we're now gonna loop through that array. We're assuming that this words array is gonna look something like, and I'm just gonna go and copy my last one. It's gonna look something like this. We're assuming it's gonna look something like this, and so I'm gonna treat it as just a regular array, and we're gonna go words dot each do word end, and then from there in here I could do like puts word or p word. And so now let's go ahead and try this out. We're just gonna have it printed out. We're not gonna do the whole logic just yet because I want to make sure this works first. And so for example, let's call print lowercase. Print lowercase, and we're gonna pass in names, which I have to uncomment actually. Okay, let's see what this does. I'm gonna run the file. Perfect. It prints out Matt, Junior, Adrian, Ron, Kiko. Exactly what we expect. And so now instead of it just printing out word, we want it to print out whatever that word is in lowercase. So we're gonna do dot downcase. So now if we run this, perfect. We see every letter is lowercase, or technically they call it downcase, I guess. Okay. Questions on this so far? All right, cool. So the next thing that we're going to do is, instead of the same way that I changed this one from print to return, now I want it to actually return these what's it called, these values in lowercase. I don't want it to just print it out. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to use another variable in here to keep track of it. So I'm going to say like lowercase words, or we can say like new array. Basically, I'm going to create a new array to keep track of all these words that we are what's it called, lowercasing, I guess, in a sense. So I'm going to say new array, and then from there in here, instead of printing them out, I'm going to do new array, and then I'm going to do dot push, passing in word. Because if we remember, dot push basically allows us to put whatever value it is in here, whatever value it is we're passing in, into that array that we're dealing with. And so we're going to take each one of these words, and actually we're going to do dot downcase. We're going to take the lowercase version of each of these words, and we're going to push it into this new array. And then finally, one thing I'm going to know is outside of this loop, once it's done looping through and putting all of these words into this new array, lowercase, we're basically going to return the new array. And let's go and do p right here. So now if I run this, cool, we see now, basically now we can see that what it prints out is Matt, Junior, Adrian, Ron, Kiko. Perfect, exactly what what we wanted it to do. We wanted this method to return the lowercase version of all of these words. Okay, and so I'm going to walk through this step by step to explain exactly what's going on and why we're doing it. So the first thing we have is this names array. Plain and simple, it's just an array that contains some names, nothing special about it. The next thing is I created the function print lowercase, and it takes in one parameter. The parameter here is words. And we're assuming that words is an array. And so that's exactly why we're going to use this each loop. The next thing we do once we get inside the function is we're creating this empty array, and we're calling it new array. The reason why we're creating a new array is because we need some way to basically take the, I guess, results of all these words being lowercase and pass them back to whatever it is wherever it was being called. And so basically we're creating this new array so that way we can put or push all of these words that have been lowercase or downcased into there. So that way we can basically manipulate this or basically return it back to wherever it's being called. So this is why we're creating this new array. From there, as I mentioned, we have this words.each do. So this words.each do is going to loop through these words, which is technically names, which is going to be all of these names. It's this names array. And then finally, within the loop, we're going to grab this new array and we're going to push all of the words after they've been downcased. So we're going to lowercase the words and push them into that new array. Each time through the loop, it's going to lowercase Matt, push that into the new array, and then it's going to lowercase Junior, push that into the new array. And so now the new array would have both Matt and Junior, and then it's going to keep going until it finishes the length of the loop. And then the last thing that this loop does, or this code does, this function, I'm sorry, is it returns this new array. So as I mentioned, instead of just printing out to the terminal what the values are, I actually want to return them. And it's going to make more sense in the future, or it'll make more sense as we practice it more. But just even if it doesn't make full sense just now, what I want us to be doing with whatever these functions do, or like whatever the results of these functions are, I always want us to return it. Printing it out is literally just like showing the picture. I actually want us to return whatever the result is to wherever it was called. Does that make sense? All right, cool. Sorry, I feel like I could explain a little bit better, but I want you guys to try it out for yourselves, and then from there, yeah, it'll make more sense. Wait, one sec. Okay, so I'm gonna do one more example, and then I'm gonna give you guys a couple exercises to basically try this out. Because we're putting together a lot of different kind of concepts here. We have arrays, we have a function, we have creating a new empty array, we have our each loop, and then we're returning some value for that function. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. And so I want you guys to practice that. I'm going to give you guys like 2 or 3 different exercises to basically try this out. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to do something similar. Actually, we're going to let's do this. Let's do numbers. I'm going to create a numbers array. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I want to create a function that's basically going to add up all of the numbers together. So I'm going to call this one def sum array, like to get the sum of it. And actually this is going to take in an array as well. And it's going to take in array, and I'm going to call it the parameters the parameter that it takes in is, I'm going to call it nums. Wait, hold up. All right. Okay, cool. So I'm creating this method or this function. It's called sum array, and it takes in one parameter nums. And this nums is ultimately going to be an array. So in the same way that I looped through the words parameter that we had up there, I'm going to loop through nums. So I'm going to go nums.each do, and I'm passing in num. From there, I'm going to immediately create my end to make sure I don't forget. And let's just go ahead and start with printing out what num is. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call this function. So for example, sum array, passing in numbers. And let's see what happens. Perfect. It prints out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exactly what we expect, because it's just looping through and printing out each index through the loop. So the next thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to figure out, we're going to do kind of something similar here where we have some variable here to keep track of the total or to keep track of something, and we're going to basically iterate on that. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to create a variable here, and I'm going to call it total. Total equals 0. So we're starting with the total equal to 0, and then here's what we're going to do is we're just going to basically go total plus equal num. And then from there, our last thing we're going to do is we're going to return what the total is. And so let's go and I guess technically one more last thing I have to do is I have to actually print out what sum array is. Okay, go ahead and run this. Perfect. We see it says 15. And so the way this works is we call some arrays passing in this numbers array. It goes up to this function. It now numbers is now nums. And so now we're going to loop through nums dot each do num. And before we do that, actually, we're going to create this variable total. This variable total is what we're going to be used to keep track of what's the total sum, basically. And so the way it works is we're going to loop through the nums array. And so num is going to be 1 the first time through the loop. So we're going to go 0 plus equal 1. So now it's 1. And then from there, it's going to loop through again. Nums dot each do num. So now num is going to be 2. And so it's going to be 1 equals 1 or num total equals 1 plus 2. Now it's 3. And it's going to keep going 3 plus whatever, then plus 4 plus 5 until we finally finish the loop and it returns whatever total is for this specific time through at the end of the loop, basically, which happens to be 15. And so just to make sure it works, if I add another 5, we know that 15 plus 5 is 20, so we should get 20. Perfect, we get 20 just like we expect. Questions about this? All right, cool. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys an exercise. I'm going to give you guys a couple exercises. Okay. First, let me give you guys these examples. There's 2 examples. Exercises. So your first exercise is to create a loop called, it's going to be called reverse words that takes in one parameter, words, and returns a new array with all words reversed. Keyword returns. I'm going to highlight that or make it bold. After that, I'd like for you to create a loop called, we're going to call this one product array. That takes in one parameter, numbers, and returns a new array with all the numbers multiplied together. Multiplied together. And so I'm actually going to give you guys what the arrays look like. So the first array is this one. And then the second array is this one. Actually, I'll call this nums to change it. Or let's just be consistent with the way I was naming it. There, that's how I was doing it, to keep it simple. Okay, we'll go ahead and start with this. Okay, so you guys' exercise is you have 2 loops that you guys are going to do. The first one is I want you to create a loop called reverse words that takes in one parameter, words, and it's going to return a new array with all the words reversed. I'm emphasizing that it returns and it's not just printing it out. There's a as we know, as we've kind of been going through, there's a difference between it just the function printing it out versus the function returning it. And so the next loop you're going to create is called the product array. It takes in one parameter, nums, and it returns a new array with all the numbers. I'm sorry, not a new array. This one's not going to return an array. Returns. It returns the value of all the numbers multiplied together. There you go. Okay. Yeah, good thing I reread it. So create a loop called product array that takes in one parameter nums and it returns the value of all the numbers multiplied together. Again, it doesn't print it out, it returns it. I don't mind you printing stuff out when you're first creating it, but the end product should be it returns it, not it printing it out. Where you print it out is when you call the function. All right, cool. You guys are good to share your screen and try that out. I'll give you guys some time on this. Hey Ron, question for you. Or okay, go ahead, continue. Go ahead, continue. You can continue this. All right. Hey Ron, question. Okay. So this, where's the end for this function? You don't have to speak it out loud, but maybe put your cursor on it. Where's the end for this function? Or you can speak, it's up to you. Like where, so this function obviously starts on line 54. Where does it end?
Is it on 59?
Yes. And so now in this
What's up?
same thing, where does this, so this each loop, it starts on 56. Where does it end?
Right. I'm missing the end for the each loop.
Correct. Yep. And so that's where what I recommend for next time. So it looks actually solid. You're like right there. So as soon as you're finished with this line, like as soon as you click enter and it goes to the next line, I'd recommend immediately
And
putting
it
it in. Just so that way, like there's no worry about whether or not you put it in the future. Yeah.
copy.
Gotcha. Cool. Hey, Adrian, you're really, really close. You're actually really close. And I like that you're using the shovel. That's another way to do dot push. It's the same thing as dot push, basically. But so my question to you is what is reversed list? Like, what is that? Where is it coming from? And not a trick question. I'm just genuinely asking, like, what is it and where is it coming from? The shovel, the two arrows, those are fine. Those are called a shovel. Those are fine. But my question, yeah, so what is reverse list? What is that? And I'm asking it for the same reason that the terminal is saying, hey, undefined local variable method reverse list. So I'm asking you, what is reverse list? You have the right idea. Super cool. Yep. So that's exactly why I was asking that. Because it's like, hey, you can't use that variable and or that whatever that is until you've actually declared like, hey, that's what this is. So a couple of things I'd recommend just to clean it up for readability. So I'd recommend moving this function, like moving it a tab back, basically like deleting the space in front of it. The idea is this function is at the same level as everything on the outside. It should all be like all the way to the left, basically. And then everything within the function is at least tabbed one to the right, because that way we know what is what. And so in that same sense, I'd recommend tabbing the line 42, tab it in one time, because we know that it's within this loop. So we want it to be tabbed in one time. So I like it because now we can see that the function reverse words starts here and it ends exactly right here. So go ahead and make that one go back, and I'll explain why in just a second. Perfect. So then we know what right within this function, everything immediately inside should all be at this level right there, all in line right there. However, if we have another loop or a condition or whatever, something like that, that has a that has a start and an end, then we know that anything within here should also be tabbed in one time, which is exactly why 42 is tabbed in one more time. And so reverse list is not within like a nested loop or a nested, like there's no condition or whatever. It's just within reverse words, which is why line 44 is in the same level as 43, 41, and 40. So that's why reverse list is staying exactly as is. The other thing you could do to kind of clean it up maybe a little bit more is like if you look at the way that I wrote this one up here, I kind of added like a line in between them. So like technically you could like do an enter right after end to just put a line, like an empty line in between end and reverse list, or like in between like here, so that way it isn't so congested. But I mean that's not a really big deal. Not as big of a deal to me as the indentation. Yeah. Is that on?
Okay, got it.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than that, solid. Keep it up. You're gonna do something kind of similar for the next exercise for the next function that you're gonna create for the exercise.
Okay. I'll be completely honest. I don't know. I just searched it up on Stack Flow.
Stack Overflow. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
that I'll show it after this. I'll show it to everyone. So that's the original way I learned to do it. I didn't learn to use dot push. I learned to use this arrow. So this is called the shovel operator. And so technically it does the exact same thing as the dot push. It basically takes whatever's after it and pushes it to the ending of whatever is in front of it. So technically you're taking word dot reverse and putting it right at the end of the array.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, it's cool. I'm happy you were looking it up online. Matt, you are like so close to the thing. So the one thing that so I want you to add up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. like on a calculator or something like that? And what does it equal? And you don't need to tell me, but it doesn't equal like basically you're getting a different answer. You're multiplying it times three technically. And so I want you to think like what number can you multiply anything by and it won't change? Not a trick question, swear. There you go. Okay, cool. Now run it again. Run the code. All right, cool. 120. I'm pretty sure it's 120 now. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure. And that would make sense because when you multiply 120 by 3, you do get 360. So to me, that makes sense. And if you wanted to, you can like remove numbers to test it. But yeah, that this is the way to do. So whenever you're doing multiplication, you're going to change it to 1. If you're doing addition or subtraction, you would change it to 0. Because with those, you'll start at 0. It doesn't break anything. That's what you need to start it with. But with multiplication specifically, you have to change it to 1. All right, cool. Great work, man. Adrian, you're super close. Let me know if you want a little bit of help with that. So what I want you to think of is you're technically multiplying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 1 times the array 1. Or basically remove it out of the square brackets and you just want it to just be 1. Because each time through, you're looping through on like this numbers array, but then you're basically this is like this is just an integer. And so each time through the loop, you're just multiplying an integer times an integer. You're not multiplying an array times an integer, if that makes sense.
Wait, Leon, sorry, question.
Yes.
So because I put this the closed brackets, it counts as an array, and the array would equal to um yeah, sorry, I'm lost on can you repeat how this happened again? How this product happened? Like
I,
there was
I
like
don't
continuous one.
I don't really know why it's doing that 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, whatever, to be honest with you. I don't
Yeah.
know why like exactly it's doing it. I know the general reason of why. It's because you're multiplying, you were attempting to multiply. So the way you can think about it is you were attempting to multiply an array one, which is not a
Yeah.
number. An array one is an array with one object in it, which is the integer one. That's very different than just the integer one. It's a completely separate data type. And so that's the thing that I
Okay.
want you to understand there. And so what you were trying to do was you were saying, okay, product equals an array one, like an array with the number one inside of it. And so you're going to do
Mhm.
array one times one. And then it's going to go array at one or array with one inside it times two. And then array of one times three, which I don't know. The reason why I don't know why it's doing this one stuff down here is because I've never attempted to multiply an array times an integer. To me, that doesn't make sense in my head. Like it's like, why would you like there's no reason I can think
Yeah.
of where you would do that. And so that's the whole that's why I don't know why exactly it's printing out 1 1 1 1, but I know like again, I understand the general idea that basically we cannot multiply an array times an integer. In the same way we cannot like basically they have to be the same data type. We have to be manipulating it the
Got
same.
it.
That's
Okay.
and so technically within this loop, num is an integer, which is why we need product to be an integer. That's like kind of the way you can think of it.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
Yeah. Hey Ron, you're super close. You actually you have the solution. And so what I want you to do, Ron, I want you to try. So
Is that how it's supposed to look like? No, right? When I
so
printed it.
what you're seeing down here is you're seeing line 20. You're seeing that each time through the loop, it's just printing out word.reverse. You're not doing anything with this new array. Like the new array kind of you could delete, you could comment out 16, 21, and 24, and you'll see the exact same thing in your terminal. And that's so the reason that is because technically you're not telling the terminal to print out what new array is. And what I mean by that is go ahead and comment out line 20 and do P in front of line 28. So comment out line 20, yep, and then put P in front of there. Cool. Now go ahead and run this code. Perfect. So you had the solution already. It's just you were never telling it to print it out. Is that
Oh, okay. I was looking at the print and then I thought it was going to print anyways.
exactly, exactly. So it was doing line 20 and it was doing everything technically. Like it's happening in the system. It's just not showing it unless you tell it to show it. So that's what was happening. Cool. Okay. Let's see. Let me pull this up. All right, cool. You guys are good to stop sharing your screen. Let's go through the solutions together, and then probably take a quick break and we'll move on to the next one. Share. Okay, so let me pull up the exercises. Okay, cool. Exercise. Very cool. So I'm gonna use this names. Oh, I'm gonna use this names array and this numbers array. Let's go and do the first one first. Create a loop, and actually, here, I'll just do this. I'll push that down there. Create a loop called reverse words. So I'm going to create a loop called reverse. I'm not create a loop. I put create a loop. I'm sorry. I meant to create a function. That's my fault, guys. Sorry about that. Create a function called reverse words. So I'm going to create a function called reverse words. It takes in one parameter words So I'm going to let it take in one parameter words, and it returns a new array with all the words reversed. So the first thing I can do, like if I'm not sure what to do, the first thing I can do just to make sure that this thing works is let me just print out words. So I can go reverse words, passing in names. I'm just going to uncomment that. Let's run this file. Perfect. It prints out the names. I know it's in, so I know that words is an array. And so now I can go ahead and do words dot each do word. As soon as I click enter, I'm typing an end to make sure that I don't forget it. And then from there, I can go within here and I can do like p word dot reverse. Perfect. It's giving me all of the words reverse. It's printing them out. And so now we want it to return a new array with all those words reversed. So I can see already it says returns a new array. So it says to return a new array. I'm going to create a new array. So I'm going to say new array equals an empty array. Because in order to return a new array, I have to create it first. And then I'm going to put all these into here, basically. So I'm going to comment this out because this is going to confuse me on the bottom because it's going to be printing out a bunch of stuff that I don't want anymore. And then so I'm just going to go new array dot push, passing in word dot reverse. And then finally, now that we're no longer printing stuff out and we want it to return, I'm going to return this new array that we're creating with all these words. So I'm going to do return new underscore array. And then the final thing, actually, let's run this first. It's not printing out. Can someone tell me why it's not printing out? How can I fix this? I'm like, I feel like I did all my logic right, but why when I run the file, it's not doing anything?
You're not telling it to print
P
anything.
puts.
Exactly.
Do you want to? Oh, okay.
No, that's perfect. What were you gonna say, Matt?
Oh, I was gonna say the same thing as Ron puts
Yeah,
to
perfect.
Peter puts.
P or puts, exactly. When I'm dealing with arrays, I like to use P, but just to show you, puts does work, but we can see that it's printing them out kind of line by line. I don't really want that. I want to see the full array, like kind of raw in a sense, or whatever, how it comes default. And that's why I like using P specifically if I'm working with arrays, to be honest. But ultimately I could have done either one. So thank you both. But yeah, exactly. I needed to print it out. If we don't tell it to print out, it's not going to print out. Okay, cool. So the last thing I quickly want to show you guys here is that actually Adrian found online that you can use there's basically a different way to use dot push. And so it's a different way to not use dot push, but a different way to do the same thing. So I can go new array, and then I'm going to use this shovel operator. So whatever greater than. So this is the shovel operator, which this is actually the original way that I learned to do this. So I'm going to go word dot reverse. And so this line right here and this line right here, exactly the same thing. They do the exact same thing under the hood or ultimately. And so if I run this file, we see it does the exact same thing. There's really no difference if you were to use the shovel operator versus if you use dot push. It's kind of whatever's your preference. And so I might do either. I'm more comfortable with this because this is what I learned, but I'll also do this. It's completely up to you. Okay, cool. Questions about this one so far? All right, cool. Let's go ahead and do the final one. Create a function called product array. So right off the back, I'm going to create a function called product array, and it takes in one parameter nums. So I'm going to give it one parameter nums. You go ahead and click end. And then once again, let's just go ahead and p what nums is. I want to make sure I know that this function works and then I can get the data. So for example, and let me uncomment numbers. So I'm going to call product array and I'm going to pass in numbers. And so now let's see what happens. Let's run this. Perfect. I see that nums when I'm printing it out is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So because I know it's that array, I know that I can go nums.each do num. I'm going to make sure I do my end right away. And then let's just go ahead and p what num is. Print it out. Cool. Num is each individual number. That's exactly what I was hoping it was going to be. Perfect. And so we're going to return the value of all their numbers multiplied together. And so because I know that I'm going to return one singular value of all of them together, I'm going to have to keep track of what all of these multiplied together is. So I'm going to create another variable to keep track of it. I'm going to say total. Total equals, and let's go ahead and go 0 first. And then from there, within here, it's going to be total times equal num, because we know num is going to be each number. And the second to last thing is we're going to return total. Because we're not using p, we're going to return. I want to return whatever the final value of total is, basically. And then finally, because I'm using return, I have to actually print it out. So I'm going to go p products array. I want to print out whatever the result is of the products array. Okay, let me run this. I'm getting 0. I'm pretty sure my logic's right. Why am I getting 0 and how can I fix this? I did this the exact same way pretty much as I did the sum array. We see this one here. I did total equals 0 times plus equal num, return the total, etc. So how can I fix this one? Why is this one not working?
Because it's multiplying everything by zero, and zero times or one times anything times zero is going to be zero.
Exactly.
So maybe one times maybe total equals one.
Actually, let's try it out. Cool, it gets 120. I'm pretty sure that's the right number. Just to verify, I'm going to change this to 1 times 2. So this should give me 2 if I run this. Perfect. If I add 3, 2 times 3 is 6. So if I put this here, I should get 6. All right, cool. I'm pretty confident that this is working now. So now when I add that 4 and 5, 120 seems like it should be right. And of course, I could pull up a calculator and do it, but I'm pretty sure that's right. Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Cool. Questions about these? All right. So let me share the solutions with you guys. Solutions. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break. We'll come back at 7:16 and we'll continue. Okay. Okay. Let's see. All right, before we move on to any new concepts, I'm going to share some stuff with you guys. So let me go and do this. And so in general, in bookmarks, I added another bookmark for deliberate practice problems. That opens up this GitHub repository, which if you guys just go to the class GitHub, which is CSG Live July 2025, if you go to repositories, now there's two repositories or two projects. One of them is the deliberate practice, the other one's the resources that we've been using. And so specifically, it's going to take you here. And so in here, I want us to all kind of take a minute, and I'm actually going to share for the next probably till around 8 o'clock, maybe. I'm going to have us working on these just for us to kind of practice some stuff. Okay, so the idea with these deliberate practice problems is it's kind of yeah, it's basically exercises that cover kind of the core fundamental programming concepts in, like, for example, Ruby, JavaScript, and Python. And it has like different examples and scenarios that you guys can try out, basically. There are some basic ones, there's some a little bit intermediate ones, and there's some advanced ones. And so I guess let's just kind of go through it. Or actually, before we do it, we'll do this. One thing that I want to share with you guys is this 30-second rule. Or we'll get to that later. We'll get to that later. Let's just show you guys an exercise. So for example, from the home page, I'm going to click on this exercises folder. And then from there, that pulls me up to basic, intermediate, and advanced. We're going to start with basic because we're in week 1. And then we can see there's variables, conditionals, loops, arrays and hashes, or custom methods and custom classes. Specifically, what we've done so far is some of this one, we'll touch hashes next week. We have started custom methods, and then we've done loops, conditionals, and variables. And so specifically, for example, I'm going to go to variables, and these are really straightforward. So for example, this first one says, and here, I'm going to move this. So for example, this first one says, write a program that uses a variable to store a number and then prints out the number plus 15. So here, actually, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to put that right there. Oh, I'll comment that out. And so it says, write a program that uses a variable to store a number. So I'm going to create some variable for some number. So I'm going to say like number equals 10. And so, and then it prints that number plus 15. So puts number plus 15. Run this, we see it says 25. Simple as that. And we can see here, if I click into this, it shares us the solution for exactly how to do it, which is pretty much exactly what we did, it's just using a different variable. And it shows it in Ruby, it shows it in JavaScript, and it shows it in Python. So we can see all three solutions here. So the way that I want us to use it, especially since we're going to be working on this, I want us to be doing this till roughly 8 o'clock, maybe like 7:50-ish till our next break, is I want you guys to do the first, we'll start with just the first 3 problems for variables, conditionals, and loops. So you're going to do the first 3 problems for all of those, and then I'll give some extra ones for bonus after that. But again, the way that I want you guys to do it is you're going to start, for example, we just did variables, let's say, I'm going to go to loops. So now I'm just going to copy this first one. I'm going to put it here. And then from there, now I'm going to solve it. Write a loop to print the numbers 1 through 12. Okay, maybe I'm going to do like I equals 0 while I is less than or equal to 12. Actually, so if I want to print 1 through 12, I'm going to start with 1. So, and then I'm going to put my end, I plus equal 1, and I'm going to do puts I. Let's run this file. Cool, we see it says 1 through 12, exactly like what I'm expecting. And so this is kind of the level that I want everyone here to get at, where if I tell you guys, hey, give me a loop that prints out half a day 5 times, you're going to be able to do it kind of like muscle memory in a sense. And that's the goal, is with these fundamental concepts of programming, the idea is you guys shouldn't be, eventually, of course, not right now, but eventually it's you. I want you guys to get to the point where it's muscle memory. You don't have to think, how do I write a loop? How do I set a variable? How do I do a condition, etc., like stuff like that. And the idea behind that is when we get to more complex things where we're building an actual application, I don't want you guys to have to, you guys shouldn't have to worry about how do I, like, I have to loop through some data. How do I do that? That should be muscle memory already. And so that's really the idea here. That's why this is called deliberate practice, because we're practicing it deliberately to the point that it should be muscle memory. Does that make sense with everybody? Cool. Yeah, so theoretically, I did this one, comment it out, and then I'm grabbing the next one, go in here, pasting it here, comment it, write a loop that prints out half a day 5 times, and I'm gonna do it. Once I'm done with that, I move on to the next. The last thing that I'll share with you guys on this one is if we go back here, that thing I mentioned with the 30-second rule. Apply the 30-second rule. So the idea with this 30-second rule is if you get stuck for 30 seconds, take a quick look at the solution, then go back to your code editor, which is VS Code, delete it, start from scratch, and keep practicing until you can solve it without help. So what that means is going back here, let's go to the basic one. Let's do conditions now, for example. So I'm gonna grab this, I'm gonna paste it here. It says use a variable to store a number, then write a condition that prints perfect if the number is equal to 25 and prints not quite otherwise. Okay, cool. So use a variable to store a number. Okay, number equals 25. I did that. Write a condition that prints perfect if the number is equal to 25 and prints not quite otherwise. I don't really remember how to do a condition. I'm not sure. Okay, cool. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at the solution real quick. That's how you do it. Okay, if score equals 25, print perfect, else not quite. Okay, let me go ahead and close that. I'm going to come here and I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to delete that. Okay, so I need some sort of variable to keep track of a number. And then from there, now I'm going to do a condition. So it's like if number equals 25, I'm going to put my end, and then I'm going to do puts perfect. Let's try running this. Cool, that did it. Now, what do I need to, how do I do else or whatever? What is the other thing? I forgot. Okay, let me go look at the solution. Oh, okay. Else puts not quite. Okay. Let me go ahead and close that up, and I'm going to restart from scratch again. Okay, so we have number equals 25, and then I'm going to do the condition. If number equals 25, I'm going to put my end. I have an else. So if number is 25, I'm going to put perfect. Else, I'm printing out puts not quite. Let's run this. Perfect. If I change it to 10, not quite. Perfect. I got it. All right, cool. Now I can move on to the next thing. Comment it out, move on to the next one, copy, paste that, go on to the next thing. So that's what I mean by that 30-second rule. If you're unsure, if you put this in here and you're just sitting here like not doing anything and you don't know, take a look at the solution. And the idea with that is this is deliberate, like this is meant for you guys to kind of go through it relatively quickly. This isn't like a critical thinking necessarily, where I want you to be sitting here and be stuck on a problem for like 10, 15 minutes. Ideally, in 10 minutes, you're going through most of them because you're kind of going back and forth quickly if you need help, and then moving on to the next. Does that make sense with everybody? All right, cool. Okay, so with that being said, here I'm going to share this link, and actually I'll share directly into here. So you guys' exercise, do the first 3 basic variable practice problems. Conditional practice problems, and then loop practice problems. There's the link. All right, cool. You guys are good to share your screen and try this out. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Potentially between Lana and I, we might be pulling you guys into a breakout room, which is just a room like where it's just us two, where it's just us three, I guess. And we might go through some stuff together, see how you're doing, and kind of go from there. So just a heads up on that, we might do that in just a second. But yeah, you guys are good to share your screen and start working on these deliberate practice problems. All right, I paused the recording while we were doing deliberate practice together, but I just resumed it. But so as I kind of told you guys all first, you guys all did great for real. Thank you guys for that. So once at least once a week, we'll be doing that. Whether it's me and you, Lana and you, me and Lana and you, whatever, some combination of that. And so the idea is that we want to see where you're at with it, work through it together, see if you have any questions that we can walk through together and stuff like that, and just do a general check-in, see how it's going. And so as I mentioned to kind of all of you guys, I recommend if you can, kind of daily at maybe like at Monday through Friday, if you want to, weekends as well. But I'd recommend like at least maybe like 10 minutes, just or not at least, somewhere between like 10 to 15 minutes. You guys don't need to do an hour, 2 hours, nothing like that. That's too long. 10 minutes right before bed, maybe just hop on and be like, okay, cool. I need a little practice with loops. Let me grab two of the random problems. I'm going to put that in my thing. Let's work through it. Cool. I got that done. All right. I'm good for the day. And as I mentioned to some of you guys already, like I promise you, after even just a week of doing that, you guys will notice a huge difference. So let alone 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, etc. And so just being consistent at it will make all the difference. And again, the goal is that let's say a month from now, if we're in that breakout room together and I tell you, hey, write me in each loop to loop through this array and print out each thing. You're just like, okay, cool. Let me do that real quick. And you do it real fast. Obviously, right now, I'm not expecting you guys to be at that just yet, but starting through every week, I'm expecting you guys to improve a little more to the point where it's going to be like fluent. It's like going to be like you guys speaking English. Cool. The last thing that I wanted to share quickly on it that I didn't mention to everybody just yet, but this is kind of a general. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna create a new file. So another thing that I recommend with you guys is when you guys are doing any problem. So this isn't specific to deliberate practice. This is just kind of general. So for example, I'm gonna grab this one. So most problems that you guys get, whether it's deliberate practice again or in general, there are going to be like steps to it. By steps, there's like it can be broken down into kind of like bite-sized chunks. Like if I was to implement this whole thing, maybe it wouldn't be super hard, but I feel like it can be made a lot easier if I broke this down. So like the steps we can break them down to is like, okay, cool. Use a variable to store a number. That's step one. So step one is technically this. Step two. See, what's step two? Step two is write a condition that checks or that prints too cold if the number is less than 75. All right, cool. So this is step two. Step three is going to be, okay, prints too hot if the number is greater than 85. Cool. And then the final step is it prints just right if it's in between 75 and 85. And so I'm not saying you have to explicitly write it out like this every single time, but I am highly recommending that when you're dealing with a multi-step with a problem that has multiple steps, that you break it down into this. Because handling this is way easier than trying to do this whole thing by itself. And I want to say apply this to not just these problems, but as we get to more complex stuff, especially because it makes it a lot easier. Like if you're going to try to do some super complex problem, yeah, it's going to be hard because you're like there's so much you have to do. But if you broke that down into like okay, little tasks, little to-dos, then that's where it's going to be a lot more manageable and a lot easier for even you to kind of comprehend and digest, and then you can kind of get it done. Does that make sense with everybody? All right, cool. All right. Let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break. We'll come back at 8:26 and we're going to continue with the next thing. Welcome back, everybody. Okay. Let's see. So especially because two of your classmates aren't here today, instead of starting new concepts, I want us to spend the rest of today. I was gonna like kind of I was gonna start some new stuff and we'll just extend to like 9, 10, 9:15, something like that. But instead of doing that, for the rest of today, I want us to do deliberate practice. And so did everyone here finish the first three for variables, conditions, and loops? All right, cool. So I want us to do the next three for all of them. So it's gonna start with whatever. Next three variables, next three, so whatever, 4, 5, 6 for all those three again. And so we're going to be doing that for the next roughly 33 minutes or so. Um, yeah, and so you guys are good to share your screen and you guys can continue with that. And then I'm also going to make it homework. Specifically this week, we're not going to be doing deliberate practice homework from after this week, but specifically for week one, the homework is going to be to finish the rest of the deliberate practice problems. And so we'll go through, and so on Monday, you guys will share, when you guys are done with it, you guys can share it with me so I can take a look at it. And that'll kind of be the check to make sure it's good and all that stuff. So or me or Lana, and so that'll be on Monday. So for the rest of this class, you guys are going to get ahead of the homework and you guys are going to finish the next three. So exercise, do, I'm just going to do this. Just copy this. Do the next three, next three, next three. All right, cool. So you guys get to share your screen and work through that. All right. You guys are good to stop sharing your screen. Mhm. All right, cool. What do you guys think of deliberate practice? How you guys like it so far? No.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I think it's,
Super helpful.
dude, I think in comparison to some lectures that I've gone through, this is a lot more engaging and interesting. So, yeah.
Well, I really appreciate that, man. Thank you. The goal, I really genuinely, I hope you guys understand, like I really want you guys to succeed. Whatever that means is kind of up to you, but I want you guys to, however much, Lon and I and, the team can help you guys, that's what we want. And so these deliberate practice problems, we created them specifically so that way you guys can become fluent at this stuff. So that way, down the line, you guys continuously, you can use this forever. Like, let's say you want a refresher a year from now, you can still just come back and you can just use it. You guys will have these resources. And I saw you're looking at some of the other guides, you'll have these guides indefinitely. Like I still see, I was still using my actualized, the school that I went to, I was still using their guides up until I started making my own. And so, yeah, that's the goal. And so, what do you guys think of week one? I guess because this is officially the ending of week one. So, congrats to you guys. So, what do you guys think so far? Any thoughts? Yeah.
I think it's hard to, honestly, personally for me, going from waking up at 4, meal prepping 8 to 5, and then going straight to coding is really exhausting. So like I'm trying to adjust so that way I can kind of not burn out.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that. But it's good. I'm not gonna lie, I'm learning a lot. It's just a matter of like time management. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So, burning out is definitely something that I'm doing my best to also balance with how much work we're giving you guys. And so that's why um I'm not giving you guys homework every day. I have stuff that I could give you guys every day so that way because technically where I want us to be right now is a little bit further, but we have enough time. I think there's no rush. Together with I want to make sure that everyone fully understands everything and we're all on the same page with all and also again like we're not burning out. And for you guys' kind of reference, and I won't speak too long because I know it's 9:02 already, but for you guys' reference, when I took the code school, I was coding every day before class, obviously during class, after class. And by coding, it's like whenever we were given exercises, I'm doing different variations of those exercises as much as I possibly could. Because so a little bit of context, when I joined the code school, I had just had my daughter, which you guys have seen her kind of come in and out. I had just had her. And so, and we were living in Las Vegas at the time. We were by ourselves. So it was me, my mom, and my girlfriend. Me, my daughter, and my girlfriend at the time. And we didn't have any source of income other than what I was making. And I actually quit my job in order to do the class because I was just going to go all in with it. And so I was going to do anything it took to land a job. I didn't really care. And so with that being said, again, as I said, I was coding before the class, during the class, after the class, 7 days a week. And it was great. I got a lot of practice. I did a lot of extra work and stuff. But then right when I landed the job, so for reference, I landed a job right before the class actually ended. I was super fortunate. Like I was super fortunate. But with that being said, right when I started that job, I was so burnt out. I didn't want to code like at all. And I was lucky because right when I joined was Christmas, and so they gave us 2 weeks off. And during that time, I did not touch a program at all. I was just so burnt out. And so there's definitely a balance. Of course, like if you only do what's in class, like I do want you guys to do a little bit extra, as you guys have time, for example, those deliberate practice. But I'm not looking for you guys to kill yourselves and whatever. Like there needs to be a work-life balance. And that's something I'm still working on to this day. And so that's where I want to help you guys to have do it better than what I did. And so definitely finding that work-life balance is we're gonna all work on that together. And so that's why more than likely I'm only gonna give you guys some homework on weekends, but during the week I won't give you guys any homework because I know that you guys have other responsibilities and things like that. And so, but also if you guys have like stuff going on, just feel free, let me know. Like for example, Junior had to take care of some stuff with his family. And so that's right, okay, cool. I was like, thank you, Junior, for letting me know. And we're keeping that in mind and so on and so forth. Kiko, he forgot his charger. He had to go grab it and take care of some other stuff, etc. And so let's communicate. As long as we're communicating, we're on the same page. I'm more than down to work with you guys. Each class is recorded, like this class is recording right now. You guys can rewatch that. on the weekends or during the week, if you guys have time and you want to meet up together, let's hop on a Zoom call. We'll go through some concepts, whatever it is. And so as long as we're on the same page and we're communicating, we'll work together and we'll figure it out how to make you guys successful in whatever it is. Um, cool. I don't have anything else, I don't think. Actually, I guess the last thing is I did share the homework. So, I think I did it in exercises. I said so I put homework, it's due Monday before class. And so you're going to complete all 10 basic variable practice problems, conditional, and basic loop practice problems. And so once you're complete, you'll share the code with Lana or I, either one or both of us. It's completely up to you. So that way we can check in and make sure everything's good. And yeah, we'll kind of go from there. So that'll be due right before class on Monday. Obviously, if you're done before it, feel free to share whenever. But just shoot us a message. You can just copy and paste the code into Slack and send it over. And yeah, we'll take a look at it. But so this is the only week where deliberate practice is going to be the homework. Every other week from here on out, it'll be a different thing based on whatever it is we're working on. But yeah, other than that, I don't have anything else. I'll hang out for a little bit if you guys, anyone here has any questions or anything like that. But other than that, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys for this great first week. You guys killed it. Keep it up. Stay motivated. Feel free to ask questions. Yeah, and you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you guys on Monday.
Thanks, Leon. You guys be safe throughout the weekend.
Sir.
Shoots.
See you guys.
See you, Adrian.
Bye, everybody.
Sorry, Leon, I have a couple questions before